Hello there, it's Andrea Jackson here from Nu-Gnu. I've got two bits of information to talk about today. The first one about I went to a webinar, virtually went to a webinar with Richard Moore, who is a HMI inspector, or was. He's now a consultant with lots of training providers. And the interim reports, or the interim visits from the inspectors of Ofsted, was discussed. And the other thing I want to talk about is actually now the interim reports that have come out from 10 of the training providers that have been visited over the lockdown period. They've come out, and I want to talk about those as well, and the implications of that. So that's our discussion. Now, I have to say, I have copious notes littered around because I need to make sure that the information I give you is correct. So if you see me looking around, it's not the fact I'm bored, it is the fact I'm looking for the information and checking that it's correct. Okay, so as I say, my name is Andrea Jackson. I'm from Nu-Gnu, which you can see on the ticker tape that's going right the way through, which I'm quite pleased about. And what we do is we look and examine and ask the learners and the employers and the staff of training providers what the impact of the training provision is having on them. And then we help the training provider to improve the experience of the learner and the employer and their staff to ensure that if there is any sort of inspection, no matter what, they feel comfortable, but also they're comfortable in the quality of the training provision. So if there's there's chance of expansion and growth, they're comfortable to take that. So that's what we do at Nu-Gnu. Okay, then, so we go down to the webinar that we had with Richard Moore, and basically talked about there's two sorts of visits that Ofsted are doing at the moment, and at the moment the timetable is from sort of like summer until December. So there's two types, and you've got your new provider monitoring visit and you've got your interim visit. Now, the interim visit is a non-judgmental visit whereby the inspectors go for 2 days and they speak to whomever is there or available, and they take notes and they do not look into it. So they're basically taking what is being said on trust with a titch of a pinch of salt and running with it. I think what will happen, because I think we're all human, if there is any problems that they've worked out, obviously if they're big problems, huge problems, safeguarding problems, they'll go to the manager. Otherwise, I think you can be sort of certain that there'll be an inspection when that time comes. Now, we know that the training providers are desperately seeking for the Ofsted to start at the very least in Easter, but we have been told that Ofsted want it in January, so we shall wait and see. And of course, one thing that we found from the interim visits, that they were all about, that they were mostly about the COVID, during that time, and how people were treated and etc. Which makes me amazed just how long a week can be in training, because here we are facing another lockdown. But I will be talking about that in a later session, because I have got some information again about what's been talked about in the lockdown. Okay, so we're down to the interim reports now. Let me explain how I did it. This is where my notes come in. So I took all of the interim reports, I got a spreadsheet, and I divided it into good or, strong, not so strong, that sort of thing, because there's no judgments, had to be quite careful. And I put down all of the statements, who said what, basically. So today what we're going to do is I'm just going to look at the safeguarding aspect of the visits. So what we had was, so as I say, there was no judgment calls. Ofsted needed to know what was going on. Now, the interim reports do not use the Education Inspection Framework, the EIF, but they had 3 questions. So the 3 questions was, what actions are leaders taking to ensure that they provide an appropriate curriculum that responds to the reasonable needs of learners and stakeholders and adapts to changed circumstances? That's the first question. The second one, what steps are leaders, managers and staff taking to ensure that the approaches used for building knowledge and skills are appropriate to meet the reasonable needs of the learners? And the third one is, how are leaders ensuring that learners are safe and well informed about potential risks, including from online sources? Now, I know that up until then, when we're looking at our SAR and our QUIP, from a safeguarding point of view, now there's so many there's so much training taking place online. There's an awful lot to think about other than your prevent and your extremism. There's an awful lot. There's length of time at before a screen. There is cyberbullying, etc., etc. So there's an awful lot. It's extended. The one thing that I did find from all of the reports, as I say, so I wrote everything down and I wrote who said what. There was very few instances of feedback from learners and employers. Okay, so most of the comments came from senior leaders, members of staff. And obviously, senior leaders, members of staff are going to be positive about where they work. And Ofsted know that. So, as I say, they're not daft. They've written down the points, but it may be that they'll go back to them at some stage. Okay, so if we look at the safeguarding aspects, some of the learners stated that, and this is what the report says: learners explained the information that their teachers taught them about staying safe online. They recalled some of the potential risks from working online and how to keep safe. They spoke of learning about topics including cyberbullying, extremism, and scam emails. Marvelous, just exactly what we're looking at. What it doesn't tell us is how many learners that was. We don't know. We're presuming it's in the plural, so it's more than one, but we don't know. But actually, that's basically what we're looking for. I would like to know, now we know from an ordinary Ofsted that you can't pick the learners. I don't know. Anyway, apprentices told inspectors that they felt safe when at work and when working with coaches. Apprentices indicated that they know whom they should contact if they need help and support. When we're doing our inspections, so what we do is we speak to the learners and the employers, and that's absolutely what we're looking at. We discuss in such a way that that's the information we're trying to get out. Who do they contact? Why do they contact? How do they contact? Okay, so that's excellent. Don't forget there was nothing not positive from what the learners said, which makes me think that maybe, I don't know. Anyway, those learners and apprentices who we spoke to said that they felt safe and know who to contact. There you go, another bit of that theme. Who to contact at the college if they have any concern for their safety. They all reported high levels of support from college staff. They say that they understand the importance of keeping themselves safe while working online. This is the stuff that they're going to be looking at. Apprentices told inspectors that they felt safe when at work and when working with coaches. Apprentices indicated that they know who to contact if they need help and support. So you can see there's an absolute theme coming through these visits. Again, and it's one of the things that we'll always ask, even if it is part of a big range of questions, it'll always be who do you contact, because obviously otherwise they're stuck, aren't they? So that was all of, so from all of the 10 training providers, those were the only reports coming from learners. So really, there wasn't a great deal of learners looked at or spoken to. Okay, but don't forget that when the inspections start, that's exactly who they home into. They home in onto the learners and the employers. Okay, so now we're talking about some employers were contacted. Now, at a training provider, it was reported that employers report that the transition to online learning was quickly put in place at the outset of the pandemic. As a result, employers have not noticed any gaps in the learner's knowledge. Now, that makes me wonder how many other training providers can say that, because I know from the lockdown, the first lockdown, we were sort of in the dark, really. We didn't know how long it was going to last. We didn't know what it meant. We really didn't know what it meant, like numbers, ways, how we were going to do it. Some training providers don't even have the platform to do remote virtual training because it's so set up for face-to-face. So I would wonder how many others could say that. Another employer said, employers are positive about the way teaching staff support apprentices nearing the end of their training to prepare them for practical assessments. Staff provide additional classes, and this is for hairdressing. They're obviously doing hairdressing. Staff provide additional classes in which apprentices can hone their hairdressing skills using head blocks where clients cannot attend. That's good. Employers consider that online resources and support have helped to motivate their apprentices to re-engage and catch up. This is fantastic. I think that the fact is that the employer has recognised that, the learners recognise that. What we've got to be reassured, though, is that everybody has access to those resources, to those laptops, computers, etc. Another one, this is a hairdressing, so I think again this is the same training provider, I would assume. Hairdressing employees told inspectors that they appreciate that apprentices continue to learn their theory elements remotely even when furloughed. That is brilliant. I would ask the question, but don't forget, it's not a judgment call. It's not. I would ask how do they know that? Does the actual employer check up on the learner? But it's not a judgment call. Okay. Another one, employers reported to inspectors that there'd be minimal impact on the learner's progression. Again, absolutely fantastic. That cannot be across the board, because when you're talking about learners that have been furloughed, that will have an effect. I think what will happen in any interim or any subsequent inspections will be learners that had a break in learning. What happened? How were they taken off and then brought back on again? So all of the other statements were from staff from the training provider, and I will be looking at those later because I think that's quite interesting as well, and it deals with the other two questions about how the curriculum was changed. I think the interesting point was how positive the colleges were in being able to adapt very quickly, which is what they were saying. I think for us as training providers, we need to be quite mindful in asking the question about how are leaders ensuring that learners are safe and well informed about potential risks, including online sources. It's really, really important that we keep that to the fore whenever we are dealing with our learners when we come to the next lockdown. What we do know is that they want training to carry on, which again I'll be talking about later. But that is one thing. Sorry about that page just going straight in front of the screen. Yeah, so that's for another discussion. But I think for now, I think for us is that training providers need to understand how important it is to know how your learners and your employers and your staff are feeling at this moment, and how you can improve that impact that you're having on the learners, the employers and staff. Now, that's what Nu-Gnu can do. I love it when it rhymes. So that's exactly what Nu-Gnu does. They contact learners and they ask. And what we've said is that actually that we're willing to reduce the cost of our service, of our inquiry, for the first 5 training providers that contact us, simply because we really want to help training providers at this time. So the thing that you can do is contact us on the name on the ticker tape, Andrea@Nu-Gnu.com. You can contact us via our website, which is www.nu-gnu.com, and just leave a comment. And as I say, we will get in contact with you. So thank you very much for your time. As I say, I will be doing another a discussion about the rest of the interim reports, but I will also be doing a discussion because of the thing that happened at the weekend with the lockdown. I will be discussing out the implications of that lockdown, and I'll be doing that this week before we do the next bit of these discussions. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your support. So as I say, for the first 5 training providers that contact us, we will be reducing the cost of our inquiries. So if you contact me on Andrea@nu-gnu.com, or you contact us on our website at www.nu-gnu.com. You can also find us on Facebook, obviously Nu-Gnu at Facebook, and Nu-Gnu on LinkedIn, so that you can also contact us on those mediums. Okay, then. So that's it. So thank you very much. I will be talking to you quite soon, because I'm going to be talking about the lockdown ×2, the sequel, which is funny but not. And I'll speak to you soon. Many thanks. Bye-bye.